and welcome back to Allison Bakes Your Day. I already did this part. I'll just be real with you. But my dishwasher was on, so it was very loud. So I started over. So I'll catch you up real quick. Today, we're making pizza. Pizza from scratch. We're making dough from scratch. I'm gonna make tomato sauce from scratch because this weekend, Allison, me, is baking my day and my partner Peter's day because we are celebrating the end of our January Whole 30. We did it! Woo, we did it! So now, we're gonna eat pizza because I miss carbs. Here we go. Catch you up real quick since that video was also dishwasherified. Put 125 grams, 1 cup of flour in your bowl. Put a packet of instant yeast on one side, teaspoon of salt, teaspoon and a half of sugar. I also added 1/8 of a teaspoon of garlic powder and 1/8 of a teaspoon of basil, dried basil, to create more Italian flavor and enrich the dough a little bit. Then we add 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 3/4 of a cup or 175 milliliters of warm water. Mix that all together with your fingers. Then you'll gradually add another cup or an extra 125 grams of flour. You might have to add more, around 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup more of flour. And you're going to mix that all in the bowl until it becomes this lovely, wonderful dough ball like this. Oh, that I'm gonna throw. This wonderful little dough ball. So you'll knead it in the actual bowl until it starts to come together. It's gonna be very sticky to start. And when it gets to be like this, where it is still, yes, slightly sticky, but it forms this nice ball that you can pick up and fold underneath itself like this. Then you're gonna take that and you're gonna turn it out on a lightly oiled work surface. I'm just gonna smoosh this around. With this, you're gonna knead it on this oiled surface because you want the dough to have a coating of oil on it. And you're gonna knead this for about 5 to 10 minutes. All right, I'm gonna be doing this for a few minutes. I'll check back in with you when it's done. When you've finished kneading and it's in its nice little round ball, you should be able to stretch it without it tearing. It's not ready. It's not ready. Oh, kneading. Now for the window pane test. Have to stretch it a little bit. Ooh. Should be able to see the light through it. See, it's stretching. I can see my finger through it with the light, which means it's ready. Gluten has developed. Woo, woo, woo. We're a nice smooth ball here. Smooth ball. Oh man. Okay. Now I'm gonna clean this bowl, oil it, pop that in there, and we're going to cover it. And I'm gonna rest it in the fridge overnight. Yeah, our dough is resting and proving in the fridge overnight. So we're gonna move on to the tomato sauce. Tomato sauce, tomato sauce, tomato sauce. And yes, we're making this from fresh tomatoes, no canned tomatoes, fresh herbs, all the things. I'm making this up today. I have 0 recipe. I'm gonna keep this one as simple as I can. So this will be a sugar-free tomato sauce because if we put too much sugar in everything, we don't need it. Some onions. I'm gonna chop these up and I'm gonna caramelize them, which takes a long time, so I'm just gonna tell you that I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna actually show you, but I will show you this. To properly dice your onions, cut them in half like this. Leave the root bundle on so it holds the whole onion together. Make sure you have a sharp knife, flat hand, keep it out of the way, and you're going to cut into the onion, not all the way through, because you don't want to loosen that grip from the root. Make 2 slices that way, and then you're going to do cuts downward like this, and then you have diced onions. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Our onions are caramelizing, and that process is a low and slow. So you want to put your heat on a medium low to low, depending on how intense your burner is. Coat the bottom of your pan with oil and butter, and then have it in an even layer, and then cook them low and slow. Let them sit for a while, then stir, sit for a while. You want them to be in there for at least 30 minutes. You want a little bit of color on them, but you want to get them really translucent and soft, and it brings out all that natural sweetness in the onions and makes them super delicious. I've never done caramelized onions in a tomato sauce before, but that sounded really tasty to me, so I am going to do it today for all of you. Next step, we've got our water boiling. Let me turn this back up. Need to take a break. I was like, how about you simmer down for a little bit? Just simmer, simmer. If you don't know how to peel tomatoes, I'm gonna show you. You're gonna take off your root, flip it over, and you're gonna make an X on the bottom. Just a shallow cut. You don't want it to go too deep. You're not trying to get into the actual tomato. You're just scoring the bottom. Like this. Capiche? Now that all of our tomatoes are scored, we're going to drop them into our pot of boiling water. Boil, my pretties. Next, we leave them in for about 30 seconds to a minute. I've had this bowl of water chilling in the freezer. You can do an ice bath. You can do an ice bath if you want. I like to just get the water really cold so I'm not dealing with a bunch of ice. Save the ice for the booze. Save the ice for the drinks. Boop. Boop. It's been a little over 30 seconds, so I'm just gonna start taking these out of the water and dropping them in this ice bath. Whoops, slippery little suckers. It's already starting to peel. My bowl's not big enough. The pizza dough's in the big bowl. All right, let's turn that off. Stir our onions. Now that we've blanched our tomatoes, because we didn't want to actually cook the tomatoes, we just wanted to loosen the skin, which we have. So now I'm just gonna, ooh, it feels so naughty. I'm undressing this tomato. Undressing it before your very eyes. PG-13, folks, PG-13. And the skin should just peel right off. Ooey gooey. Done. I'm gonna peel the rest. Okay, here we go. I rough chopped all of my blanched tomatoes, and now I'm going to smash some garlic. Smash it good. Make sure the blade is pointing down and away from you, and then heal your hand. That cracks the skin, and you can peel it off. And you get a nice peeled garlic. Now I'm just gonna chop up these cloves, and we're gonna throw it into our caramelizing onion. Rough chop some garlic, got the rough chopped tomatoes, and we're just gonna toss this in with the onions that have been caramelizing. I'm gonna take my immersion blender through and get the sauce really smooth later. Turned up the heat a little bit after I added the garlic, stirred it constantly so it wouldn't burn the onions. Now we're gonna add the tomatoes now that the garlic's cooked a tiny bit. Stirred in the tomatoes with the caramelized onion and garlic mixture. Turning up the heat because we want this to come to a boil and start breaking down the tomatoes and cooking them down. As soon as they start to boil, which is almost there, getting there, boil it, boil it, boil it, boil it. Once it starts boiling, I'm gonna turn it down and we'll let it simmer and just cook for a while and just get all that goodness in there. In the meantime, I'm gonna chop some herbs. Hear it bubbling. Ooh, simmer tomatoes, simmer. Simmer down. I chopped all these fresh herbs. We have some Italian parsley, oregano, thyme, and basil. The tomato sauce has to simmer for another 15 minutes to an hour. I just have to watch it and see how it thickens. And once that's done, I'm gonna stir in balsamic vinegar, these fresh herbs, and I'll start with a teaspoon of salt and see if it needs more. Start with a teaspoon, increase as needed to your preference. Hi everybody. So this next part of the video is a very phoned in version because Peter and I celebrated Whole30 by drinking. And I was very hungover on day 2 of pizza day. So once you get the pizza dough out of the fridge, or if you just prove it at room temperature, you're gonna punch the dough down, knead it 3 to 5 more times, roll it out. If you have enough dough to split, cut it in half. If you want it thinner, we did the whole thing and made a thick crust. It was amazing. So the next few videos, you're just gonna see me pressing the dough into the pan, topping it with the sauce and the toppings, and baking it.